Right now at noon on this Tuesday afternoon, confusion over mask mandates. Unraveling the details as it is lifted on planes and public transportation, but Philadelphia's mask mandate still remains in place. Today is April 19th. Welcome to CBS 3 Eyewitness News at Noon, now streaming live on CBS News Philly. My name is William, all dressed in red. Today's broadcast is now streaming live on CBS News Philly. The judge strikes down a mask mandate on planes and mass transit, but you can't wear it on SEPTA, the transit agency, as well as Amtrak. But you can require one to wear on the Philadelphia International Airport. Let's kick off our news story this afternoon with my favorite uncle named Ross DeMatte as he reports from one of my favorite airports. Good afternoon, Uncle Ross.
Despite signs and announcements around the airport, there were more maskless faces inside of Philadelphia International Airport today than at any other point since the start of the pandemic. Somebody doesn't want to wear a mask, it's not going to bother me at all. I think there's some fatigue. I think there's some debate about whether or not the masks, especially those little cloth masks, they don't do anything. A federal judge struck down the nationwide mask mandate on Monday night, making them optional on public trains, planes, and buses. And while most major airlines are leaving it up to passengers to decide whether to wear a mask while flying, PHL is asking passengers to continue wearing face coverings inside airport terminals. The conflicting policies are creating confusion for travelers.
It doesn't seem to make any sense. You could have one policy and a different policy, and they keep going back and forth.
It's going to change. Sometimes we have to wear them, sometimes we don't. But I hate to have it. We're so spoiled. You have people fighting in Ukraine, and we can't put a mask on.
One thing you worry about is, is there good filtration systems on the plane? And the second thing is nobody wants to get sick, but you got to protect yourself. And since we're still in the middle of this pandemic,
the rules are even more relaxed at SEPTA stations and concourses and onboard SEPTA, Amtrak, and New Jersey transit vehicles, where masking is now encouraged but not required.
I'm going to protect myself. And it's up to people to do whatever it is that they feel is right. Like when you're in a boxing ring and they say protect yourself at all times, that's my motto.
Reporting at Philadelphia International Airport, Ross DeMatte, CBS 3 Eyewitness News.
Nice. That's what I'm going to do too. Protect myself at all costs. Thanks, Uncle Ross. Uber says masks are not required because it reached out for some guidance, despite the fact that we still have a pandemic on our hands. And certain masks are being required at the Wells Fargo Center. Some Sixers fans didn't comply by not enforcing the rules. But to be honest, though, I'm glad the Sixers won that game, so I have nothing to avenge anyone or anybody else in between. However, the Sixers did win the game in game number 2, all thanks to Joel Embiid. Please make sure to stay with CBS 3 for the continuing coverage of the coronavirus. Go to cbsphilly.com or even CBS News Philly, the streaming service channel. A live look at Pennsauken, New Jersey here on this Tuesday afternoon. You can tell it was quite chilly and blustery for a walk in the park. Here's meteorologist Larissa Abreu to explain what's going to happen as we go through the rest of the day today. Larissa, my sister, all dressed in navy blue. Take it away.
Out there right now, still overcast, but still very breezy, if not downright windy, with wind gusts at the moment coming in at 29 miles an hour. And look at what it's doing to our feels-like temperatures. It only feels like it's 43 degrees here in the city, but it feels even colder than that as we travel north. 35 is a feeling in Allentown, 22 up in the Poconos. That is it. 40 as you step outside in Trenton, and it currently feels like it's 50 degrees from Atlantic City down towards Wildwood, Millville as well. Slightly cooler as we make our way to Delaware, Wilmington, and Dover, also feeling like they're right at 40. The chill remains a factor as we wrap up our Tuesday night. It'll be partly cloudy and still quite breezy, with winds relentless out of the west, coming in between 10 to 15 miles an hour, gusting closer to 20. So we will see these winds gradually diminish finish. But that is going to be the very last tail end of what was such a powerful storm that moved through the region. We'll see those winds gradually diminish later on tomorrow. Future feels like temperatures. This is what we will be waking up to tomorrow morning. It's going to be a chilly one. 30 is going to be the feeling here by 6:30 in the morning in Philadelphia. 27 will be the feeling out the door in Trenton. So it's safe to say keep the heavier coats handy. We'll need them again tomorrow before you can lose them as we approach the afternoon, because I'm also tracking a warm-up.
Yup, you are definitely tracking a warm-up. All right, Larissa, thank you. You can always get live updates on the weather by going to CBS News Philly or cbsphilly.com. Now to the latest on the war in Ukraine. A disturbing new drone video. It shows that graves were being dead and whatnot during the invasion. Russia confirms it started in eastern Ukraine. Our Natalie Brandt of CBS News has the story. Auntie Natalie, take it away.
The Donbass region.
Have a stage of this information, and I'm sure this will be a very important moment of this entire special operation.
Russia says it hit more than 1,200 targets with missile and rocket attacks overnight ahead of the ground offensive.
We have continued to see the concentration of their airstrikes and artillery in the Donbass and in the south, particularly around and in Mariupol.
In that key port city of Mariupol, Russia once again issued an ultimatum to the last of Ukraine's fighters there to surrender. But Ukrainian forces are making their last stand at a steel factory in the war-torn city.
President Biden held a video call with Western allies this morning to discuss next steps as another round of sanctions targeting Russia is expected soon.
We are definitely working on possible sanctions in the field of oil.
Western allies are also considering how to step up military assistance for Ukraine. The latest round of U.S. shipments have begun to arrive in the region, and that includes the new weapon systems such as howitzer artillery. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Natalie, thank you so much. In other news, this Tuesday afternoon, jurors were found in the fourth day of deliberation in the federal bribery trial of Philadelphia council member Kenyatta Johnson and his lovely wife. They told the judge they're having trouble reaching a verdict. Prosecutors allege that Johnson accepted bribes from his wife. They didn't do nothing wrong, but if they did, they're going to be convicted in a court of law. Now to the latest on the gun violence crisis. Philadelphia police are investigating a deadly shooting that happened in Germantown at 9:30 last night on the 300 block of Earl Lynn Terrace. The 21-year-old victim was identified as Gregory Battle. With that being said, police have not made any arrests to the case. And so far, we've seen so many killings and so many shell casings. That is so crazy. Well, at least 6 bullets went into the house, but nobody inside the house was hurt. There's no word on the motive as of lately. And anything else? Not so much. And new this noon, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy once again calls for the state legislature to pass a safety bill for guns. He says it's outrageous and something needs to be done with, no matter what the consequence may be. Well, coming up next on Eyewitness News at noon on this Tuesday, clashes in the Middle East were following rocket attacks and airstrikes. Also ahead, package delays, what could slow down deliveries even more for the United States Postal Service. That's when Eyewitness News at noon comes right back, folks. Stay with me. Don't go away.